Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters in faith, today I want to speak to your heart about something extraordinary, something that many will never understand, but you are being called to. You are being prepared for a spiritual responsibility most never receive. From the beginning of time, God has always chosen not the many, but the faithful few. The Bible tells us that few are called, and even fewer are chosen. And today, if you feel different, if you feel stretched, if life feels intense in ways others do not understand, know this, it is not by accident. God is preparing you. You are being refined, stretched, and molded for a task that requires spiritual depth, unwavering faith, and divine insight. Preparation is never easy. When God is preparing you for something extraordinary, He allows situations that stretch you beyond your comfort zone. He allows challenges that test your patience, trials that test your endurance, and responsibilities that test your heart. Why? Because a spiritual responsibility that can impact lives, communities, and even generations requires a vessel that has been tempered in the fire of experience. Every individual who feels called to a higher purpose often wonders why their journey is different, why the path they walk seems more challenging, more intense, or more unique than those around them. The truth is that God's preparation for spiritual responsibility is unlike anything else in life. It is not a general path that everyone can follow, nor is it a role that many are entrusted with. Divine preparation is unique because it is tailored specifically to the individual who is being called to carry a weight that others are not prepared to bear. From the very beginning, God's ways have been distinct. The Bible shows us examples of ordinary people chosen for extraordinary tasks. Moses, a man who grew up in Pharaoh's palace but fled to the wilderness, was not an ordinary man when God called him to lead millions of Israelites out of Egypt. David, a young shepherd boy, was chosen to become king, yet God prepared him quietly in the fields, teaching him humility, courage, and reliance on Him. Esther, a young woman in exile, was placed in the palace not for ordinary reasons, but to fulfill a divine purpose that would save a nation. In each case, preparation was unique and specific. It was not accidental, it was intentional. This uniqueness means that your path cannot be replicated by someone else. The experiences you face, the lessons you learn, and even the struggles you endure are custom designed by God to shape you into the person He intends for a specific spiritual role. It is a preparation that demands individuality. While others may follow conventional paths, your journey may appear unconventional, even perplexing at times. You may feel misunderstood, isolated, or different because God is equipping you for something rare and extraordinary. These feelings of difference are not mistakes or flaws, they are markers of God's unique work in your life. Divine preparation also emphasizes timing. God does not entrust spiritual responsibilities too early or too late. He waits until the vessel is ready. Unlike worldly responsibilities, which are often given based on age, experience, or convenience, spiritual responsibilities are given when God sees maturity, faithfulness, and readiness. This means that while others may rise quickly in positions of influence or leadership in the natural, you may feel that your progress is slow. This is not a sign of delay, it is a sign of God's precision in shaping your spiritual character. The timing is His, and it is always perfect. Another aspect of this unique preparation is the personalization of challenges. God does not give a uniform set of trials to everyone. He allows each individual to encounter experiences that will specifically strengthen their weaknesses and expand their capacity. For some, it may be the challenge of patience. For others, it may be the challenge of faith under pressure. These challenges are not punishments. They are tailored exercises designed to refine your character, deepen your relationship with God, and prepare you for responsibilities that most will never understand or bear. It is important to recognize that uniqueness in preparation also brings a sense of calling. When you feel stretched, when life seems unusually intense, or when circumstances push you beyond what seems possible, it is often a signal that God is at work, specifically preparing you for a role that requires a depth of spiritual insight and strength that few possess. This preparation is sacred, intentional, and personal. It is a sign that you have been chosen for a responsibility that will not only impact your life, but will ripple out to touch others in profound ways. Finally, understanding the uniqueness of divine preparation encourages patience, trust, and humility. You are not on this path by accident. The experiences you are undergoing are not random. They are shaping you, molding you, and equipping you for a spiritual responsibility that is beyond ordinary measure. Embracing this truth allows you to move forward with confidence, knowing that God's preparation is intentional, that it is designed for you and only you, and that when the time comes, you will be ready to step into a role that most will never receive. In essence, divine preparation is unique because it is individualized, intentional, and perfectly timed. It sets apart those who are being trained for spiritual responsibilities that carry eternal significance. While the world may not understand the intensity, the stretching, or the seemingly unusual path you walk, God's hand is guiding every step, ensuring that when the moment arrives, you will be fully equipped to fulfill the role He has uniquely designed for you. When God prepares someone for a spiritual responsibility that most will never receive, He does not do so in comfort. He does not place them in a life of ease, free from trials and challenges. On the contrary, He allows experiences that stretch the soul, refine the character, and strengthen the spirit. These trials are not punishments or accidents. They are carefully designed tools in God's workshop, shaping individuals to carry weighty spiritual responsibilities with wisdom, courage, and resilience. Life's difficulties often feel overwhelming, and it is easy to question why God allows them. You may find yourself facing setbacks that seem unfair, relationships that test your patience, or circumstances that push you to your limits. Yet it is precisely in these moments that God is actively preparing you. Like a potter working clay, He applies pressure where it is needed, molding you into a vessel strong enough to hold the responsibilities He will entrust to you. Without the pressure, the vessel remains fragile and incomplete. One of the greatest truths about spiritual preparation is that growth often comes disguised as hardship. When you encounter challenges, it is not a signal of failure. It is an invitation to mature. The Bible repeatedly shows us examples of people who faced immense trials before stepping into their divine responsibilities. Joseph, sold into slavery by his own brothers, imprisoned unjustly and forgotten by men, emerged as a savior for nations. Job, tested through unimaginable loss, developed a depth of faith and understanding that few ever achieve. These trials were integral to their preparation. Without them, they would not have been ready to fulfill their extraordinary callings. Challenges serve multiple purposes in divine preparation. First, they refine your character. In moments of difficulty, patience is cultivated, humility is nurtured, and reliance on God deepens. Trials expose weaknesses that you may not have noticed, forcing you to confront them and allowing God to strengthen your inner spirit. This refinement ensures that when you are entrusted with spiritual responsibility, you are not only capable but mature, grounded, and resilient. Second, challenges build faith. Spiritual responsibilities require a steadfastness that can withstand adversity. If faith is untested, it is fragile. God allows challenges to prove and strengthen your faith, teaching you to trust Him even when circumstances seem impossible. Each trial becomes an opportunity to experience God's provision, His guidance, and His power firsthand. Through these experiences, you learn that your strength alone is insufficient, and only through reliance on God can you succeed in the roles He is preparing you to undertake. Third, challenges develop empathy and wisdom. Spiritual responsibility is not merely about knowledge or authority. It is about shepherding others, guiding them, and impacting lives with sensitivity and discernment. When you face struggles yourself, you gain insight into the pain, fears, and struggles of others. This empathy allows you to lead with compassion, understanding, and grace, quality essential for someone tasked with responsibilities that touch countless lives. It is also important to understand that these challenges are not random or meaningless. God is purposeful in every circumstance. He places trials in your path not to break you but to equip you. the stretching, the testing, and the moments of discomfort are all investments in your spiritual capacity. Each challenge increases your resilience, your wisdom, and your ability to carry responsibilities that most will never be entrusted with. Finally, embracing challenges requires a mindset of trust and surrender. Instead of resisting or resenting difficulties, see them as opportunities for divine growth. Recognize that God's ways are higher than your ways and that He sees the outcome even when you cannot. By accepting that trials are part of the preparation process, you position yourself to receive the lessons, strength, and spiritual maturity that will make you ready for the responsibilities ahead. In essence, trials and challenges are not obstacles to avoid. They are essential steps in the journey of preparation. They refine your character, strengthen your faith, develop wisdom, and prepare you to handle responsibilities that most people will never receive. When you embrace the process with trust, patience, and obedience, you are not merely surviving adversity, you are being equipped for a purpose that has eternal significance. God is shaping you in ways the world cannot see, preparing you for a spiritual responsibility that is rare, weighty, and profoundly impactful. Spiritual responsibility is not measured by the size of a congregation, the number of followers, or even the visibility of one's influence. It is measured by the depth of the heart, the maturity of the spirit, and the ability to navigate life with wisdom that is rooted in God. When God is preparing someone for a responsibility that most will never receive, He does not only train them in outward skills or knowledge, He cultivates a profound spiritual depth that equips them to handle matters of eternal significance. This depth is what separates those who are entrusted with great spiritual responsibilities from those who are not. Depth in spiritual responsibility begins with a strong personal relationship with God. It is impossible to lead, guide, or impact others spiritually without first being rooted in God's presence. Those who are being prepared for rare responsibilities spend significant time in prayer, in reflection, and in communion with God. This intimacy allows them to discern God's voice, understand His purposes, and receive direction that is beyond human reasoning. Depth is not developed in the shallow waters of casual faith. It is forged in the quiet, private moments of devotion when no one else is watching and when faith is tested in solitude. Another aspect of spiritual depth is wisdom. God's responsibilities are often complex and multifaceted, requiring insight that goes beyond worldly knowledge. Wisdom gained through experience, discernment, and a willingness to learn from mistakes is critical. Depth allows a person to navigate challenges with grace, to make decisions that honor God, and to lead others effectively. Without depth, spiritual responsibility can become burdensome or mismanaged because the weight of influence demands not only good intentions but also spiritual insight, emotional maturity, and divine discernment. Character is also central to spiritual depth. God entrusts responsibilities not to the flawless, but to those who demonstrate integrity, humility, and resilience. Depth of character means remaining steadfast in the face of adversity, being honest even when it is inconvenient, and choosing obedience over convenience. Spiritual leaders and those with divine responsibilities often face pressures, criticisms, and temptations that could easily derail someone unprepared. Depth in character ensures that the person can withstand these pressures while remaining faithful to God's calling. Moreover, spiritual responsibility requires emotional depth. Many fail to realize that leading others spiritually is as much about heart as it is about knowledge. Empathy, compassion, patience, and understanding are cultivated through experiences that test emotions and relationships. Those who are being prepared for rare responsibilities often face situations that stretch their emotional capacity. Times when they must forgive, when they must endure misunderstanding, or when they must comfort others in their pain. Emotional depth allows them to minister effectively, to guide wisely, and to impact lives with sensitivity that reflects God's love. Spiritual depth also encompasses resilience and perseverance. The responsibilities that most never receive are not easy or fleeting. They are often demanding and long-term. They require persistence through trials, the ability to remain faithful when results are not immediate, and the courage to act in faith when outcomes are uncertain. Depth of spirit equips a person to endure, to remain steadfast in prayer, and to trust God's timing even when the world pressures them to abandon their path. Finally, spiritual depth is evidenced in the ability to influence without arrogance, to lead without seeking personal gain, and to impact others for God's glory rather than personal recognition. Those who are entrusted with rare spiritual responsibilities are not only leaders, they are vessels through which God's purposes flow. Their depth allows them to hold this responsibility with humility, grace, and wisdom, recognizing that the true measure of spiritual responsibility is the eternal effect of their actions and guidance. In essence, spiritual responsibility requires depth because the role is not superficial or fleeting. It demands a strong foundation in God, wisdom to navigate complexity, character to withstand trials, emotional capacity to minister to others, resilience to endure challenges, and humility to lead with integrity. Those who are being prepared for such responsibilities are being cultivated in every area, heart, mind, and spirit, so that when the moment comes, they can fulfill their calling with excellence, impact, and unwavering faith. Depth is not optional, it is essential. Without it, the weight of spiritual responsibility cannot be borne, and the potential influence and legacy of a calling may be lost. Patience and perseverance are not just virtues, they are essential elements in the preparation for spiritual responsibility. When God is preparing someone for a role that most will never receive, He often places them in seasons that test their endurance, stretch their faith, and challenge their patience. These periods are not random or meaningless. They are divinely orchestrated to build the resilience and steadfastness required for the responsibility that lies ahead. Without patience and perseverance, even the most gifted and spiritually attuned individuals may falter when the weight of their calling is placed upon them. Patience begins with trust. To persevere, one must first understand that God's timing is perfect, even when it feels delayed or unclear. Life's challenges often arrive in layers, and the outcomes of our efforts are not always immediately visible. During these seasons, it is easy to become frustrated, to doubt, or to compare oneself to others who seem to be progressing faster. However, patience requires recognizing that God's preparation is tailored uniquely for you. Just as a seed does not sprout before it has taken root, your spiritual maturity and readiness cannot be rushed. Each moment of waiting, each period of uncertainty is a time of growth, teaching you to rely not on your own understanding, but on God's wisdom and timing. Perseverance complements patience by ensuring that you continue faithfully even in the face of obstacles. Trials, delays, and challenges are inevitable when preparing for a spiritual responsibility of great magnitude. Perseverance means continuing to pray, continue to serve, and continue to grow, even when progress seems invisible. The Bible teaches us that those who endure to the end will be rewarded, emphasizing that perseverance is a key indicator of spiritual readiness. Those who give up at the first sign of difficulty will miss the opportunity to develop the strength and character needed for divine responsibilities. Patience and perseverance are also crucial, because spiritual responsibilities often come with unseen pressures. You may be called to influence others, to guide them spiritually, or to carry burdens that are not visible to the world. Without patience, the weight of these responsibilities can become overwhelming, leading to frustration or burnout. Without perseverance, the challenges along the path can cause discouragement, preventing you from stepping fully into your calling. God uses patience to cultivate endurance and perseverance to develop a steadfast spirit that will not be shaken by adversity. Furthermore, patience allows for reflection and discernment. In moments of waiting, you have the opportunity to understand yourself, to deepen your relationship with God, and to gain clarity about the path ahead. This reflective patience ensures that when responsibility arrives, you act not impulsively or hastily, but with wisdom, humility, and discernment. Perseverance ensures that you continue to grow, even when progress seems slow, proving your readiness to handle responsibility responsibly and faithfully. The combination of patience and perseverance also strengthens faith. Every time you endure a trial without giving in to despair, your faith grows. Each moment you continue to trust God despite uncertainty builds a foundation of reliance that is essential for spiritual leadership and responsibility. Those who are being prepared for rare responsibilities must learn to trust God not only in moments of ease, but especially in times of difficulty. It is through perseverance that faith becomes resilient, unwavering, and capable of carrying the weight of great spiritual responsibility. Finally, patience and perseverance teach humility. They remind you that the journey is not about speed or recognition, but about becoming the person God intends you to be. They cultivate a spirit that is teachable, flexible, and open to God's guidance. By patiently enduring and faithfully persevering, you are being refined in character, strengthened in spirit, and prepared for a responsibility that will require both endurance and depth. In essence, patience and perseverance are indispensable in spiritual preparation. They ensure that you remain steadfast during trials, trust God's timing, and continue faithfully even when the journey is challenging. They build resilience, strengthen faith, cultivate humility, and prepare you to carry responsibilities that most will never receive. Without these qualities, spiritual responsibility can become overwhelming, but with them, you are equipped to endure, to lead, and to fulfill your divine calling with grace, strength, and unwavering faith. Obedience and faith are the cornerstones of spiritual preparation. When God is shaping someone for a responsibility that most will never receive, He requires more than knowledge, talent, or ambition. He requires a heart that is surrendered, a spirit that is willing, and a life that responds consistently to His guidance. Obedience and faith are not just actions, they are the processes through which God molds a vessel capable of carrying divine responsibility. Without them, preparation is incomplete, and readiness for spiritual responsibility cannot be achieved. Obedience begins with the willingness to follow God's direction, even when it does not align with personal desires or understanding. Those who are being prepared for unique spiritual responsibilities often face instructions that seem challenging, counterintuitive, or even uncomfortable. I ask for sacrifices, patience, or choices that appear inconvenient or unnecessary from a human perspective. Yet, obedience in these moments demonstrates a heart that trusts God's wisdom above all else. It is in these small acts of obedience, repeated over time, that character is refined, faith is strengthened, and readiness for greater responsibility is cultivated. Faith complements obedience by providing the confidence to trust God's promises, even when circumstances seem uncertain. Faith allows the believer to move forward, not based on what is visible or immediate, but on the assurance that God's plans are perfect. Spiritual responsibility often requires acting before outcomes are apparent, making decisions without full understanding, and taking steps that depend entirely on divine guidance. Faith is the anchor that steadies the soul in these moments, ensuring that obedience is not forced or mechanical, but flowing from a deep trust in God's character and purposes. Together, obedience and faith shape the vessel by aligning the heart with God's will. When a person obeys consistently and walks by faith, they develop spiritual sensitivity, discernment, and maturity. These qualities are essential for carrying responsibility that affects others in profound and lasting ways. A vessel shaped by obedience and faith is one that can withstand the pressures of leadership, the temptations of influence, and the challenges of guiding others without losing sight of God's direction. Without these qualities, the vessel remains fragile, vulnerable to error, and unprepared for the weight of responsibility it will eventually carry. Obedience also teaches humility. To obey is to acknowledge that God's wisdom surpasses human understanding. It requires setting aside personal pride, ambition, or preference and choosing to follow divine instruction, even when it is difficult. This humility is crucial for spiritual responsibility, because those entrusted with such roles must lead without arrogance, serve without selfish motives, and rely on God rather than their own strength. A vessel formed through obedient living is a humble vessel, ready to serve faithfully, influence wisely, and carry responsibility with integrity. Faith, on the other hand, cultivates resilience. When a person acts in faith, they are often stepping into the unknown, facing challenges that test their trust in God. Every act of faith, from the smallest decision to the most significant step, builds spiritual stamina and reinforces the understanding that God's plans are perfect, even when unseen. This resilience ensures that the vessel can endure the trials, pressures, and responsibilities that come with spiritual influence, enabling the individual to persevere with confidence and courage. Furthermore, obedience and faith work together to open the door to God's guidance, provision, and blessing. God honors a heart that is committed to doing His will and walking in faith. Those who consistently obey and trust Him are prepared to receive revelation, insight, and strength necessary to fulfill their divine calling. The vessel shaped by obedience and faith becomes a conduit for God's work, equipped not only to carry responsibility, but to act as an instrument of His purposes in ways that impact countless lives. In essence, obedience and faith are the foundation upon which spiritual readiness is built. They shape the vessel by aligning the heart with God's will, developing humility, cultivating resilience, and fostering a dependence on divine guidance. Through consistent obedience and unwavering faith, a person becomes prepared to carry a spiritual responsibility that most will never receive, capable of leading, influencing, and serving with wisdom, grace, and steadfast devotion. The path may be challenging, and the preparation may require patience and endurance, but obedience and faith ensure that when the moment arrives, the vessel is fully equipped to fulfill its divine purpose. When God prepares someone for a spiritual responsibility that most will never receive, He is not merely shaping an individual for personal success or comfort. He is preparing a vessel whose influence will ripple far beyond themselves, touching lives, communities, and even generations. The spiritual responsibilities that God entrusts are rarely self-contained. They extend outward, affecting people in ways that often cannot be fully seen or measured. Understanding this principle is crucial for embracing the weight of preparation and recognizing the significance of one's calling. Impact begins with the recognition that spiritual responsibility is relational. The choices you make, the integrity you maintain, the faith you exercise, and the example you set all influence those around you. When you are prepared for divine responsibility, you are being positioned to be a source of guidance, encouragement, and inspiration for others. Your words, actions, and decisions have the potential to shape lives in profound ways. Every act of obedience, every moment of faith, and every demonstration of God's love becomes a catalyst for change in the lives of people who may never know the full story of your preparation. This impact often reaches beyond the immediate sphere of influence. While you may directly affect a few individuals, the effects of spiritual responsibility can extend far wider. A single decision guided by faith and wisdom can influence families, communities, and even nations. Joseph's rise to power in Egypt is a biblical example. His faithfulness and integrity during times of trial ultimately saved countless lives during a period of famine. Similarly, Esther's obedience and courage influenced the destiny of an entire nation. These examples illustrate that the spiritual responsibilities we are being prepared for are never limited to personal gain. They are instruments of God's larger plan, designed to bring life, healing, and transformation on a scale far greater than we often realize. Preparing for such responsibility requires recognizing that your life is not just your own. Every choice, trial, and act of faith contributes to the shaping of a vessel capable of extended impact. When you live in awareness of this responsibility, you begin to see challenges differently. Trials are no longer merely personal tests. They are opportunities to develop qualities that will enhance your ability to influence others positively. Patience, perseverance, obedience, humility, and faith are not only for your own spiritual growth, they are the tools that enable you to lead, guide, and uplift those around you. Another critical aspect of impact is the concept of legacy. The spiritual responsibility entrusted to you is rarely fleeting. It carries the potential to leave a lasting imprint. The lessons you learn, the wisdom you gain, and the faith you demonstrate become a heritage for those who come after you. By embracing the preparation process, you are ensuring that your influence is not temporary, but enduring. Your life becomes a testament to God's power, faithfulness, and purposes, inspiring others to trust, obey, and follow Him as well. Understanding the extended impact of spiritual responsibility also fosters humility. The more we recognize that our lives are instruments for God's work, the less we focus on personal recognition and the more we prioritize faithfulness to God's calling. Spiritual responsibility is not about status, acclaim, or reward. It is about being used by God to accomplish His purposes. When this perspective takes root, it shapes every decision, every act, and every response to challenges. It encourages a life of service, guided by the awareness that the fruits of your faithfulness may affect countless others in ways you may never see. Finally, embracing the fact that your impact extends beyond yourself motivates persistence and commitment. Knowing that your preparation has eternal significance provides the strength to endure hardships, remain faithful in trials, and persevere through seasons of waiting. It reminds you that the work God is doing in your life is not solely for your benefit, but for the benefit of others, for the fulfillment of His plans, and for the advancement of His kingdom. Your life becomes a channel of blessing, purpose, and transformation. In essence, spiritual responsibility extends far beyond personal achievement. It is about influence, legacy, and the ripple effect of faithfulness. Every moment of preparation, every act of obedience, every demonstration of faith is equipping you to impact lives in ways that will reach far beyond your own experience. God is preparing you not only to fulfill your calling, but to leave a mark on the world that is lasting, profound, and transformative. Understanding and embracing this principle allows you to walk confidently through preparation, knowing that your life, shaped by God, is destined to touch countless others and serve a purpose far greater than yourself. As we reflect on the journey of preparation, it becomes clear that God is at work in ways that are deliberate, precise, and often unseen. You are being shaped, stretched, and refined for a spiritual responsibility that most will never receive. Every trial you face, every moment of waiting, every act of obedience, and every step of faith is part of a divine process designed to equip you for a purpose far greater than yourself. Divine preparation is unique. God has called you for a role tailored specifically to you, one that requires the depth of character, wisdom, and faith that only He can cultivate. Trials and challenges are not obstacles but instruments of growth, stretching your spirit, strengthening your faith, and preparing you to endure responsibilities that would overwhelm the unprepared. Spiritual responsibility demands depth of heart, mind, and spirit, so that you can navigate life with discernment, lead with compassion, and act with unwavering integrity. Patience and perseverance are essential, enabling you to endure periods of waiting, testing, and refinement with steadfast faith. Obedience and faith shape the vessel, aligning your will with God's, strengthening your resilience, and ensuring that you are fully equipped to carry the mantle of responsibility with humility and strength. And finally, your preparation is not just for you. Your impact extends beyond yourself, influencing lives, shaping communities, and leaving a lasting legacy for generations to come. Embrace this journey. Trust the process. Walk faithfully, knowing that the difficulties you encounter are shaping you into a vessel capable of extraordinary influence. Do not grow discouraged by seasons of waiting or moments of trial. Instead, recognize that each experience is a step toward fulfilling a calling that is rare, sacred, and transformative. You are being prepared for a responsibility that most will never receive, And one day, when God entrusts it to you, you will step into your calling, not by accident, not by chance, but because you have been refined, strengthened, and made ready. The life you are living now, the faith you are cultivating, the challenges you are overcoming, and the obedience you are practicing are all creating the foundation for a legacy that will echo far beyond your lifetime. Stand firm in faith. Remain steadfast in obedience. Persevere with patience, and embrace the depth of spiritual responsibility that God is preparing you to carry. Your preparation is not in vain. Your journey is purposeful. And the impact of your life, shaped by God, will touch more lives than you can imagine.